Good morning, everybody. I'm DeAnn Perrigo. I'm one of the educators at Gamble, and we're going to do some fun things today. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the virtual quilt show while we wait for everybody to get on. How many of you been to it? Did you know that they posted all the awards yesterday? That was great to watch, and they did it on Zoom. You even got to hear from and see the people who won, all the recipients. So great time to go back and go through all those quilts again at the quilt show. But have you been with your friends? I don't know about you, but when I go to quilt shows, I usually go with a friend or five, and we go together and we talk about things and go to all the different booths. Well, I bet you could figure out a way of doing that with your friends in the virtual quilt show as well. I mean, if you have Zoom, you could all be on Zoom and go through and see everything and talk to people. If you don't have Zoom, you could do a group text messaging and maybe have a scavenger hunt. Wouldn't that be fun? Finding different things, and whoever gets it first, texts it first. I mean, there's so many fun things that we can do together in the virtual world nowadays. And have you been on and checked to see if there are still classes? There are still classes with openings. So you still have an opportunity to take classes and do fun things with it. So go check it out again. I was there again last night. I think I've been there almost every single day because it is so wonderful. But moving on, we're going to do something different today. Instead of looking at what quilts and how to quilt a quilt, I want to do some projects. So I've been thinking and practicing and playing all week different types of projects that we can do on the long arm that aren't necessarily a quilt. So let's do one today, because one of the things that I've been working with is, it's springtime. I've been cleaning up the patio, both Brad and I. Say hi to Brad, he's behind the camera again today.
Good morning.
And the patio furniture looks great, but some of the pillows are looking a little old. Had them for several years, but what if I just cover them? Because they're still in good shape, they're just kind of faded and I don't really like the design anymore. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to talk about making pillows. And don't worry about following along and write everything down, because I prepped this ahead and there will be a project that you'll be able to access. I think that someone at Gamble is going to pop it on for us sometime during this. But if not, check out the newsletter. Make sure you're signed up for the newsletter, because it'll be there, I believe, as well. So lots of places that you can access. So let's talk about making a pillowcase for this once pretty pillow. To do that, though, I need to measure it first. So let's start with measurements. I want to measure all the way around, because I want to know the size that I'm working with. So I'm going to measure it all the way around with my tape measure. Make a shape right here. It's right around 42. I'm not squishing it in when I measure. And then I'll measure again this direction. And this is about, if I can get this out of the way here, 21. So I have written it down already. What I need to do now, though, is I need to divide those two numbers in half. So the 42, which was the width, goes to 21. And as you can see here on the fabric that I've already cut out, I need it a little bit wider, not only to come up around the sides, I need to have the seam allowance, but I also need to be able to have some room for shrinkage. We know about shrinkage on a long arm because Andrew talked about that in one of his videos, one of his live videos. So we need to make sure we have enough. So I chose 12 by 22 and a half, and that's going to work well for my size project, but you need to size it to whatever size pillow that you're working with. So I've done that, and now I have come and put it over here on my long arm, and Betsy has, that's my long arm. Her name is Betsy, and she has quilted it. I've used CS7, so you can see the pattern that I used, and that is in the project directions as well. It's an edge-to-edge pattern. I could do 2 of them across, and it just turns out lovely, even though you can't really see it, which is why I didn't put a lot of fanciness into it, because you're not really going to see it. And you, with the final project, see, you can't really see it in this particular fabric. But if I'd used a solid fabric and a contrasting thread, that would have been fabulous as well. So now that I have it, I basted it, I quilted it, but that is just the front. We need to have a back. And the back needs to be the style that overlaps, so that when I separate it, I can push that pillow inside there. At the end of the season, or if I have grandkids over and they spill on it, I can pop it out, throw the pillowcase in the laundry, and put it back on when it's clean. So we need to make a back. This is the back I've chosen. You can't really see it well, so I did something for you so that you could see it. But the key to over here is you will want the back of the back up, because when we turn it right side out, we want to make sure that we'll see the pretty side of both of them. So let's go over here to the table and I'll show you how I did the back for it. First thing I did was I cut a piece of fabric. This was just part of some leftover fabric I had, so it's not to size yet. But what I did is I used the selvage end so that I could just turn it under 2 inches and press it. And I will lay that up somewhere toward the center of the fabric. On this piece, I didn't have a selvage end, so I folded it about 1/2 inch and then folded it over again so that any shredding of the ends would not be seen. It would just be all tucked in there after I'd washed it a couple times, because I didn't want to get out my domestic machine and stitch anything. That's just how I roll this week. So what I did was I laid it over the top with those folded areas butted up against one another, because that'll give me plenty of room so that if there is expansion, that it'll still cover and you won't see any tropical flowers showing through. So now what I need to do though is these pieces are too long. I need to cut them to the size of the fabric that's underneath. So I'm just going to turn it right on over. And I'm going to cut it right like that. Easy peasy. Very little thought needs to go into this project, which is good because there are days that I don't want to put a lot of thought. So as we come around to the back, the last thing we need to do is we need to stitch around the outside all the way around at 1/4 inch in. That'll give us enough seam allowance, so when we turn it, it will turn easily but still be strong enough. I chose to use draw a line on mine. If you have a long arm that's not computerized, you can put your channel locks on, and that will give you your straight line to go all the way around, or you can use a ruler. I chose this method simply because it will do it by itself, and then I can use my hands to make sure that any of that fabric doesn't pop up and turn around. Just easy for me. And then this is what it looks like. Showed it to you before. But I didn't limit myself to just that kind of pillow. Check this out. I made a sucker pillow. This one's slightly different in that, and I'll let you see the baseball version of it that I have here. I did this with Creative Studios. I'll share that with you in another time. I did that, and then I put fabric over the top, face down, stitched around, took it off and cut around it, and then I stuffed it. It could use a bit more stuffing, but that's kind of all the stuffing I had. I used leftovers on the back that have my grandson's favorite soccer team, and this will go in their room. So lots of fun things that we can do project-wise on our long arm. That for me is more fun than my domestic. That's just me. But Betsy and I had a lot of fun making these projects, and there will be more projects to come. We'll be sending out stuff in the near future, not quite sure. But check back, because like I said, it'll be in the newsletter, and I think it will probably be somewhere in our messaging today. Do we have any questions?
Oh, we don't.
Oh, okay, good. So, hope all of you are having a wonderful weekend. Check out the quilt show, and I'll be paying attention to the questions throughout the day. So, if you do have questions, I'll be around to answer them. So, you have a good day. Bye, everybody.